I used to think my biggest enemy was failure. I was wrong. My biggest enemy was sitting at my dinner table every Friday night. Let me tell you who I was before all of this. I wasn't special. I wasn't gifted. I wasn't the smartest person in any room I walked into. I was just hungry. I grew up watching my father work a job he hated for 30 years. He never complained, not once, but I saw it in his eyes every evening when he came home. That quiet, suffocating look of a man who had buried his dreams so deep, he forgot they were ever there. I promised myself at 16, that would never be me. So at 23, when the idea came to me, and it did come like a lightning bolt at 2 a.m. while everyone else was asleep, I knew it was different. I sat up in the dark, heart pounding, and wrote for 3 hours straight. By morning, I had a plan, a real one, not a fantasy. A mapped out, step-by-step, this could actually work plan. And for exactly 4 days, I told nobody. Those 4 days were the most alive I had ever felt. Then, I made the mistake. His name was Daniel, my best friend since secondary school. We'd been through everything together. Failures, embarrassments, broke months, big laughs. If there was one person in the world I trusted completely, it was Daniel. So one evening over food, I slid my notebook across the table. He read it slowly, too slowly. Then he looked up and smiled. "This is actually brilliant," he said. And I felt it, that warm rush of validation, that feeling of yes, someone else sees it too. But then he said something that should have been my warning. "You know, this is the kind of thing people spend years trying to figure out. How did you come up with this? How did you come up with this?" I didn't hear it then. I only heard the compliment. I should have heard the disbelief. We talked for hours. I answered every question he had. I explained the whole vision, the strategy, the timeline, the revenue model. I handed him everything, and I went home feeling like a genius. Once you tell one person, something shifts in you. The secret starts to feel like a burden, and every person you see starts to feel like someone who deserves to know. I told my cousin Amara next. She was the family's voice of reason, or so we all believed. She listened, folded her arms, and said, "It's a nice idea. But you know how many people have tried things like this and failed? Our family is not built for that kind of risk. Our family is not built for that." I laughed it off, told myself she was just being cautious. But that night, for the first time, I stared at my plan and thought, maybe she has a point. Still, I kept going. I told a colleague named Marcus at work. He was sharp, well-connected, and always seemed to know things before everyone else. He asked me detailed questions, specific ones. Not the kind you ask out of curiosity, the kind you ask when you're taking notes. I noticed it, and I ignored it, because I wanted someone to tell me I was on the right track. That need, that hunger for validation, it was the most expensive thing I ever fed. 3 weeks later, I walked into our Monday morning meeting. Marcus was already standing at the front of the room. He had a slideshow. And as the first slide appeared on the screen, I felt the air leave my body. It was my idea, not similar, not inspired by, mine, my words, my structure, my numbers, dressed up in his font, his colors, his name in the corner. The room was impressed. The manager nodded slowly, leaning forward the way he only did when something genuinely excited him. And Marcus looked directly at me for exactly 1 second and smiled. I said nothing. I sat there for 45 minutes and said absolutely nothing. Not because I was calm, but because something inside me was breaking so quietly. I was afraid if I opened my mouth, the whole room would hear it. After the meeting, Daniel called me. "Did you see what Marcus just did?" he said. I said yes. There was a pause. Then Daniel said, "You should have moved faster. You should have moved faster." Not, That was wrong. Not, I'm sorry, not, what can we do? You should have moved faster. And right there, I realized I had been wrong about something fundamental. It wasn't Marcus who betrayed me. It was my belief that sharing my dream would make it safer. I had handed a lit torch to people standing in the dark and acted surprised when they used it to find their own way. Here's what nobody tells you. The theft was painful, but it healed. What didn't heal was what happened after I started over. I rebuilt the plan, quietly this time. No announcements, no dinners, no notebooks slid across tables. I worked before sunrise. I studied after midnight. I failed 3 small versions of the idea before one finally started to move. And when people around me began to notice the change in me, the focus, the discipline, the quiet confidence, something strange happened. They didn't celebrate it. Daniel started calling less. When we did talk, he'd find small ways to poke holes in whatever I shared. Not aggressively, just constantly. Amara told a family gathering that I had changed and thought I was too good for everyone now. I hadn't said a word to anyone about what I was building, but my silence alone was threatening, and that's when I understood the most painful lesson of all. Some people don't dislike you because you've done something wrong. They dislike you because you've stopped being convenient. They liked you when you were struggling, because your struggle made their stillness feel acceptable. The moment you start rising, you become a mirror they don't want to look into. And rather than rise with you, they find it easier to pull you back down. So I disappeared. Not dramatically, not with an announcement or a speech. I just quietly removed myself from the noise. No updates, no previews, no, I'm working on something big. Just work, every single day. And something strange happened in that silence. The idea got stronger. Every day I didn't explain it to someone. It grew. Every day I didn't seek approval. I built something instead. Every morning I chose discipline over the comfort of being understood. The vision became clearer. I learned that dreams are like seeds. You don't dig them up every week to show people they're growing. You water them. You protect them. You keep them underground, in the dark, until they're strong enough to survive the light. 18 months. 18 months of silence, of discipline, of choosing the work over the applause. And then, something happened that I never saw coming. Marcus got fired. Not because of what he did to me. I never reported it. I never even confronted him. He got fired because the idea he stole. He didn't understand it deeply enough to execute it. He had my words, he had my structure, but he didn't have the 2 a.m. obsession that created it. He didn't have the hunger. He didn't have the years of watching my father come home with dead eyes. He had a copy, and copies don't have souls. The same week Marcus left, my business made its first real money. Not a lot, but enough. Enough to know it was real. I called nobody. I celebrated alone, with a cup of tea, my notebook, and the quiet satisfaction of a man who had finally learned the difference between validation and victory. But the story doesn't end there, because 2 days later, Daniel called. And what he said, I never saw coming. I'll tell you what Daniel said another time. But here's what I need you to understand right now. Your dream is not a conversation. It is not content. It is not something you share for reactions. It is a promise you make to yourself, in silence, in discipline, in the dark. Not everyone who asks about your progress is rooting for it. Not everyone who smiles at your plan wants to see it succeed. And some people, the ones who called you a friend, only loved the version of you that needed them. Guard your vision. Trust the work. Let success do the talking. Because the most powerful announcement you will ever make is the one you never have to say out loud. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and share with someone who needs encouragement today.